Okay, very, very, you know what you want. Okay, very specific, as did Matthew. So, Mr. Tony, do you have any thoughts on what you would like to bring forward, if you could?
Oh, no, I couldn't. Well, I'm really pessimistic. In terms of our government implementing the basic policy for ocean, in 2 years, nothing will happen except for the waters within 200 nautical miles. The basic policy doesn't exclude the waters outside of our national jurisdiction, but what we are now concentrating is inside. It's a national situation. And one optimistic condition may be year 2009. For most of the contracting parties, that will be the deadline for submission of the continental shelf. And by then, or until then, those coastal states who are eligible to extend their continental shelf, have wished to extend continental shelf, may concentrate their resources, survey resources, research resources to that work of the measurement of the sea bottom depth and the geology. After that, energy may be shifted to the open ocean, high seas monitoring. Well, it's very optimistic, but it is true that in my country, politicians started to look at the ocean science after the continental shelf survey event. They're interested in the ocean science. So if everything goes well, the knowledge of the entire ocean will be increased after that deadline. And pessimistic side is, as Ellie mentioned, it has to be intergovernmental, otherwise it won't be any movement. And as far as I understand, the State Parties meeting of the Law of the Sea, which is held every year in June, is a really slow process. Well, for me, the science-biased bureaucrat, it's incredible. It took 10 years to get that convention done. And as you mentioned, the text of the Article 76 of extended continental shelf and that area are done by almost 1980. 1977 discovery of the polymetallic sulfide, or the black smoker, and maybe too late to be. Even the convention is probably does not reflect the knowledge of the plate tectonics. And so it will take time, 2 years' time. I don't think there will be no progress.
Yeah, but it sounds like you're saying, though, if the movement towards the requirements to define the continental shelves is helping push interest of politicians and an interest in ocean science. Yeah. The best case. But you would wish for the states parties process to move more quickly, and the unclosed processes. I think we would share that sentiment. Probably everyone in the room, I think, would feel that there's need to move things more quickly. Salvatore, what would you like to get done in the next 2 years if you had one thing you could deliver or make happen?
Thank you for the opportunity. I think I'd like to propose that in the context of the existing sort of decision-making fora for taking decisions, there are three things I would do, and I think they can be done in the next couple of years. The first would be to sort of make sure that existing scientific efforts in terms of international research programs dealing with those areas, but also monitoring observations, be federated, and that they can be given some kind of home, so that institutional home, and so that they can continue. As I said, the Census of Marine Life, which is about research, is about to stop. There are several observing networks for the deep sea which are planned and or being implemented, but the situation is very fragmented. Japan has one. America, in fact, especially North America, is working on the North Atlantic part. So the first thing I would do is to strengthen scientific efforts in terms of research and monitoring by federating them and making them long-term. And still talking about science, I do agree with Eli that you need an assessment type of process. Scientific assessments like the IPCC processes are the interface of science with policy making. But at the same time, there are also social processes which are important for taking decisions, science-driven. So I support that. That's the first suggestion. The second suggestion, and it's going to be much quicker but not less important, is to institutionalize the Global Forum on Oceans, Coasts and Islands. Because as much as you need processes for organizing science and for transmitting the findings of scientific research and monitoring onto policymakers, you also need for other stakeholders, because the scientific community is one stakeholder group out of 10, if not tens. And to my experience, this particular project that you probably heard about in the past couple of days, there is a Global Forum on Oceans, Coasts and Islands that really sort of provides stakeholders with the opportunity to express themselves before those official negotiating meetings take place. But the forum is bound to finish in 2010. And my third and last point is that is capacity building, because if there is one element that cuts across all the issues that we said so far, is to enable governments to understand fully the dimensions of the problem that we are talking about. And I wanted to finish by not quoting but recalling Elisabeth Mamborghese, who at the end of the 70s founded an NGO called the International Ocean Institute, the purpose of which was simply to train developing country delegations on negotiations on the law of the sea so that they could negotiate equally. And that is really an element without which we are not going to get out of this dichotomy between developed and developing. Thank you.
Thanks, Salvatore. Those are some very good thoughts, and I think very appropriate to bring it back to one of the leading lights on developing the United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea and the real needs for reaching out to the rest of the world to engage them in ocean governance. Unfortunately, we had a signal there that we have to wrap things up. I was hoping that we would have time to engage all of you in a little bit of exchange here, but we have to work with our organizers to keep things to the program. We did get a late start. I apologize for that, and I appreciate you all being here with us for this last afternoon session of what has been a very long day with a lot of input and ideas on a range of things, and we're wrapping it up here today with this big picture look at high seas governance. I hope the panel and the expertise and ideas that they've brought out here for all of you have been informative and of value to you, and I wish we'd had a bit more time for some exchange. Please join me in expressing our appreciation to the panelists for being here, and I think there are evening events that all of you have lined up, and we can move on to that. So thank you all for being here, and thank you to the panelists.